Yo, what is going on, people? Welcome to the Avatar: The Way of Water Spoilercast. I'm your host, Tony Polanco, and tonight I'm joined by Dana Abercrombie.
Hello, it's great to be here and talk about this terrible movie.
We got Danny Martinez in the house,
What's up, guys? New guy here. What up?
and joining me from Throwdown, my co-host, my best friend, Mr. Emilio Lopez.
Sup, people? How's it going? We just closed up our episodes of Throwdown for this year, and what were we doing? We're doing another podcast. What's
What
up
is
with
this?
that?
Yeah, we're supposed to be on vacation right now.
Yeah, man.
So we're back at it. Yeah. So yeah, we are here to talk about the latest James Cameron epic, Avatar: The Way of Water. No Avatar 2, just Avatar: The Way of Water. And I'm gonna, Manny, you could say, why was this movie named Way of Water? You had this nice quote after the film.
Oh, it's called The Way of Water because it's called The Way of Water because of what you feel after watching this 3 hour and 12-minute film. You feel the way of water when you are you come out of that one.
You got to go to the bathroom. Very long.
Oh
movie.
yeah.
Very long movie.
I was
yeah, go ahead.
I was
looking.
I was just for the hell of it. I was just looking over times. I know a lot of people are sort of complaining about how long the movie is, but I mean, like, this movie is only about 10 minutes longer than Endgame, and it's not nearly as long as Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King at 2 hours and 3 hours and 32 minutes.
Yeah.
So I mean, those people's minds have sort of changed on like long movies, but
Yeah, and it's shorter than the Snyder cut. All right, so as we usually do on the spoiler cast, I'm going to go around, ask everybody's just quick opinion on the movie, then we're going to dive right into it. I guess dive would be appropriate for this podcast. All right, we're going to start with Dana, and just keep in mind there's always a little bit of a delay, but Dana, quick thoughts on the movie.
I thought it was one of the best PS10 games I've ever watched, but it was lacking obviously in story, and that was the biggest problem. You can't always on special effects and technical stuff in order to create a movie. There's more than that, and so I kind of wish there was more cohesiveness. But it was a vast improvement from the first Avatar, even with story and acting.
Nice. Danny, quick thoughts.
Quick thoughts is I should tell you guys first off, I hated the first movie. Wasn't a fan of the first movie, and the second one I loved it. It was really good. It was a vast improvement, and I'm sure we'll go into details later.
Oh
but
yeah,
thumbs up for sure.
Good stuff. And Mr. Manny, what do you think? Quick thoughts.
For me, I've thought about as good as the first one. I mean, it's I'm gonna say this, like it's like a 90s comic, right? It was never about the story or the plot. It's always about the showcase. So it just has enough story to get you along, just like the original one. And there you go. And I feel like it did the thing it was supposed to do. So I thought that I liked the movie, but I didn't. It was like it did what it was supposed to do. It wasn't. I'm not like my mind isn't blown or isn't or the opposite direction. I don't utterly hate it. I just like you know what, it did what it was supposed to do. I was entertained. I wasn't bored. Had to go pee real bad after, but I'm good.
Yeah. As for me, I really enjoyed the film. Like you guys said, visual spectacle. And here's the thing. I still like the first movie a little bit more just because I felt the story was more cohesive. It was tighter. This one had a lot of moments, especially in the middle, where it kind of just dragged. And James Cameron was just being super self-indulgent. It's like, all right, we're just going to do this whole swimming thing for about 30 minutes, like very self-indulgent. But I could also kind of respect that in a weird way, kind of like the way I respect Death Stranding. Hideo Kojima's like, okay, this is just a director just doing whatever the fuck they want. No one's telling them no. I can kind of respect that. And it's also not George Lucas bad levels, if you know what I mean. And like you said about the story, yeah, and this is what also made Top Gun Maverick work. It's a simple story that resonates with people. It's about, family and community and preserving the environment. Nothing too deep, but it gets you to the stuff people want to see, which is, the big crazy special effects. And I think like this is going to be one of those movies where like critics are not going to like it because, they like to just nitpick everything. But like regular audiences, I mean, this movie's already a fucking almost like half a billion dollars already. Not doing so great domestically, doing okay domestically, I should say, but internationally, obviously, it's blowing the fuck up. But yeah, I enjoyed the movie a lot. There's one thing I have to the big complaint I have with the movie, and which we're going to talk about later, some of the technical stuff. If you saw this shit in IMAX 3D, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But other than that, I enjoyed it very much. It was good seeing the characters grow, and it was also good seeing what's his face, Sam, what's his name, Witherspoon, right?
Sam Worthington.
Sam Worthington, yeah.
He actually did a very good job acting this time around. He was kind of flat in the first one, but this one he actually did his thing. I'm not saying he was great, but he was better than he was before. And I was like, I'm also glad to see him be in a movie again, because remember, he was kind of like supposed to be the dude, back in the day, and then he just made a bunch of shitty movies. Nobody gave a fuck about him anymore. It was him, a guy who the original Spartacus, and then the replacement guy. These three Australian dudes that all looked the same. They all kind of came up at the same time. Very interesting. But yeah, those are our quick thoughts. So yeah, let's get into it. So this movie takes place obviously after the first one, and I believe it actually takes place about 13 years after the first one, which is appropriate given the fact that this movie came out 13 years later. So you got Jake Sully, or Jake Sully, as Neytiri used to call him. He's doing his thing with the Na'vi and stuff. Everybody seems to be getting along fine, and then those pesky humans show up again, fucking sky people coming in fucking everything up. By the way, that the scene where they land and destroy everything, I'm like, that seems awfully wasteful, but it makes sense. They actually wanted to build a fortified
terraforming.
Yeah. That was a terraforming. They needed to build a walled city and stuff because the Na'vi were gonna fuck them up. But obviously, Na'vi's like, oh no, we can't have these motherfuckers around. Big fights happen and stuff. Then we see I always keep forgetting the dude's name, but Stephen Lang, right? His character is resurrected as a Na'vi, an avatar, and his goal is like, I want to kill fucking Jake Sully for fucking everything up. That's one thing we'll get into later, which kind of didn't work too well with me. It's like, so you humans just came back to Pandora just to kill Jake Sully? Like, I know you had other stuff getting on, but it seemed like that was the primary goal. Like, I know they came back for the whale fucking brains or whatever, which but by the way, it's funny, this movie's version of unobtainium.
Apparently that unobtainium is worth more than the unobtainium that they were mining before.
At least this unobtainium had a name. I had this problem with the first movie. James Cameron, you can't, unobtainium is a thing, you need to give it a name. You need to give the unobtainium a name. It's like a MacGuffin, right? Like the MacGuffin needs a name. So yeah, Jake Sully, adventures happen that decide, oh shit, Stephen Lang's after me, I got to get my family out of here. He wants to kill everybody. So they go find the water Na'vi, and more adventures ensue. Kind of turns into a little bit of a high school thing going on there, with the kids learning and all that stuff. And more crazy adventures ensue. So yeah, let's get into it. So what do you think of, just the way the movie was set up initially, Manny?
I mean, I thought it was, it definitely felt like it was, it could sort of somewhat continued where it left off. It still continues to be narrated by Jake as the first one was. I do feel like sometimes it was a little like, how did Jake know all this other stuff that went on? Because he's obviously telling this from the future, right?
Yeah.
That's what this seems to be, because he's sort of narrating the thing. So anytime the narration comes on, it's like, for stuff that like, okay, how did you know that thing happened with this? Or how did you know with that stuff that happened with the kid? Did they tell you? Were they alone? I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I understand why it's there. He's like our, he's our avatar. Yes. So, he sort of see things through his eyes, even though we're sort of spent a lot of time with the kids in this one. I did like the sort of messaging about the two-part messaging of seeing you, because they have that whole I see you dealy, where it's like, Jake was not really seeing his son throughout the movie. He was just sort of, he had his, the older son, which was the one like the prodigal son, and he really wasn't like paying attention to that, and that sort of in some ways drove him away from the rest of them, and why he ended up meeting, the killer whale, you know, later
Damn.
on. And it's even with the kid too, with the they're almost like weird opposites now. Like, you know, Jake, you know, and his son, and then the Stephen Lang character and his, you know, son.
Yeah.
Sort of like a weird sort of reversal.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, Dana, what do you think of the initial setup for the movie?
So for the initial setup of the movie, I thought I was have a different adventure, and in a way I did, but there was a lot of copy and paste that still occurred with this movie that they kind of already had in the first one. I kind of like the addition of the kids, even though I don't like children, simply for the fact that they tried something new, but even with that, it still followed the same formula that we've seen before. With we have the bully, and we're standing up for each other, and we're family. So I really didn't like that. The whale part, we'll get into later, was just, I don't even know what he was trying to accomplish there. I thought that felt like it was thrown in just to have more runtime. It really didn't serve a point to the movie aside from the overall, we have to save the ocean. But other than that, I thought that it was just okay. I was more interested, honestly, with Stephen Lang's character as Navi, even though it was literally not even kind of a learning process. I thought that they would develop his character more with him learning the ways of the Navi in order to fit in, especially when he had that son component there. But instead, it never got to that point, and I don't need 6 movies for that to finally be an arc for him to have some type of development. So for me, it just never really reached its potential, and I felt like this movie did not have some kind of conclusion, and therefore I just felt like it was just dragging the whole time. Just with the addition, if you just remove the water people out from this, it's the same story. I just know it was all right.
Yeah. Danny, what do you think of the initial setup for the movie? You know, leading in from like the first one to this one.
Yeah, I think it really did well in the beginning, like focusing on the kids more so than just Jake and Natiri. Like they how do you say I really just liked how they moved on to like a different location, because if you notice, like the differences between the Navi people in the forest, they have the Native American type culture, whereas like if you notice later on with the water people, they had more of an islander type of culture. So I like the differences between the two. So it felt like something new to me. But again, like Dana was saying, though, I think the story itself, if you were to remove the water, it's pretty much the same thing. I think the biggest difference that I enjoyed the most was that there was a lot more character development with the children.
Yeah. And that's pretty much what I want to get to next. So good segue there. Yeah, this movie was, to me, and it seemed like for everybody else, really more about the kids than anything. And like Dana, I am also not very partial to children, right? So I was very happy that I actually liked all the kids. They were all actually very well done, very well realized. They all had their own specific personalities. The little girl, not so much, but again, she's a little girl. You're not going to get too much there. But they had the Sigourney Weaver character. It actually looked like her too.
No, it
like,
was her, dude.
No, I know it was her, but like they actually made it look like her, like young her. You know,
the previous one looked like her too. No, she's literally playing herself, like she's playing a young version of herself. So imagine what that looks like on the motion capture set, where Jake is like,
yeah,
we feel better.
Because I did see her like in the mocap suit and stuff. But again, that was just, I guess, that I just had that in my head. I'm like, every time I see her, I'm like thinking about Ripley from Alien, but like younger than that still, but she was cool. The two brothers, I'm forgetting their fucking names, but there's the older one, the younger one, and it's kind of interesting because like the older one, like you said, he's pretty much the son that like he is in the very mold of his father. He wants to be like his father, but then the younger one, he's the rebellious guy. But ironic enough, he's the one that kind of leads the older brother, you know, he's the one that's always getting him in trouble and stuff.
Mhm.
Even Jake is like, don't take the rap for him. You,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, so to me, and I'm just speaking about me personally, like that was a triumph right there because I don't normally like children. I don't like high school stuff. It like it gets annoying after a while. But it kind of worked here. And let's just be honest, it was high school stuff. The bullies. Oh, look at his fucking tail, this fucking bitch. You know, it's like, oh, like you want to be a real man, you come hunting with us. You know, and then they
Mhm.
leave him like stranded and shit. You know, like typical stuff we've seen in a lot of movies before. But at the same time, there's something I'll probably say again. Just because you reuse certain tropes doesn't mean it's a bad thing. You know, these tropes exist for a reason. People like it. Like there's some kids going to be watching this movie. They're going to be like, oh, you know, they could relate to that. And by the way, real quick, there's something that's kind of interesting. Manny and I noticed. We saw this in a movie theater full of New Yorkers, right? At the end of it, standing ovation.
Yeah.
Crazy, right? This is on 42nd Street.
Yeah.
Like this is not like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was very
Mhm.
surprised by that. So that kind of lets me know, okay, yeah, this is a very people pleasing movie, despite how long it is. And I do wonder, like, did it just feel longer than usual because we were just holding in our piss the whole time?
Mhm.
But anyway, Manny, what'd you think of the kids?
I thought they were fine. They weren't sort of prototypical annoying sort of kids. They definitely felt like it was they definitely felt interested in their own characters. I mean, I would say the possibly the most interesting of them was the Sigourney Weaver one because of just what potential she sort of has and
Yeah.
what the mystery of her abilities are. Where she was a virgin birth, not a virgin birth, but like a
Kind
birth,
of.
birth by AWA. Yeah, I guess I don't know, and what the whole deal is with her having to connect with it and what that was causing. So definitely find her interesting. I'm not sure where a lot of the other characters were going to go. As far as the daughter and all that thing. One thing I do have to say is there was kind of a severe amount of missing Natiri in this one. She was
I
kind of
noticed that too.
tossed to the wayside on this one. Like her kids took over.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed because she was a really good character in the
Mhm.
first one, and obviously, Zoe Saldana is just awesome in general,
Yeah,
So
I mean, for the most part, she's just sort of singing and screaming whenever something bad happens.
yeah, right. Danny, would you want to say anything else about the kids?
With the kids, yeah, they were interesting, especially Sigourney Weaver's character Kitty. I'm really curious where they're going to go with that in the future. So clearly, James Cameron's got some plans with that. I thought it was kind of weird though how she was, how do you say, scared about what was going on with her. Like
Yeah.
she knew that something was wrong, and then out of the blue, she starts using powers. Like there's like no explanation. Like all of a sudden after that seizure, like she ends up using her powers and starts controlling things. Like kind of just like, okay, I already know what to do.
She kind of already sort of did a little bit of that earlier on in the thing where like when she was laying on the grass and it was when she was breathing, the grass was sort of reacting to her. And she sort of threw in that little line, "Oh, I'm doing that weird thing again." And even when she was in the water, she was in the water way longer than anybody else in there. So
I did notice that, yeah.
And she was like reveling in her fish and stuff. The only thing about it is like I noticed like it seems like nobody seems to notice what she's doing.
Yeah, like
I'm like, yo,
like it's not her doing it.
Like in other words, it's like you go down, like they didn't notice that. Oh, hey, where's Kitty? She's down there, fucking like controlling the fish and stuff. So like nobody saw that. Nobody's,
Yeah, and it's
Jake
like, how come she's able
when they were
to,
having
like,
they were having their heart to heart moment. Didn't he see all the glowing fish around her feet?
But yeah, no, I want to touch on a point because that's a good. It's like because remember she was saying, "How come I can't be normal and all this stuff?" Right? Like that was kind of her thing, and then all of a sudden, I have powers. It's like it would have been nice if we had a little bit of a more of acceptance of it because you're right, the powers didn't come out of nowhere. We already had that is established. It's just she kind of like mastered them very quickly.
That's what I mean. Yeah, that's exactly how it felt to me.
Yeah. Dana, anything else you want to say about the kids and Kitty specifically, the Sigourney Weaver character?
I got a completely different interpretation. I thought that she already knew and the family already knew, because she's like, why am I, so weird? And Jake really didn't react because she's always been weird. And I thought that was just a thing that the family knew, that she has some weird control thing that she maybe is able to do. Not to the full extent of, I believe she'll later is able to control the entire ecosystem. And then win the war against the Sky People at the end. My thing is that I really loved Sigourney Weaver's character. I thought she played a very accurate 14-year-old. My thing also is I just wish that they explored more of the power usage. We only got it towards the tail end. Remember when she was in the ocean and they was coming after her in those machines? And she was just waving her arms and hands around, and that's how she was able to kind of trap them and suffocate them with the place and the life that's down there. I would have loved to seen a little bit more of, as much as I hated that whale scene. It would have been interesting to see her interact with it more, especially since she can kind of she's one with nature, essentially. I think that every kid served their purpose. Even when we get to the death of, I forgot which one, that death served the purpose of the whole ICU and everything that he's lost with the family. So I expect even the little tiny kid, whose name I can't remember, but the little baby one, she was there for the cute adorableness of it all, like how kids are. But you kind of just seen how it was with her family, and I really like that. There was small parts where you got to see Zoe Saldana kind of be a mother, and I like that aspect. I was kind of interested, kind of just to go a little bit off topic, with I forgot the queen's name, but the queen of the water people, and how she was pregnant and in those battle scenes fighting everyone.
Yeah. By the way, that was Kate Winslet, which I didn't know until later.
Aspect,
really?
I never knew that.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought that they did superb. So, like, just overall, the family aspect, even though, as you said, tropes are necessary, it did fit. While it wasn't original, it created some kind of something new within the story. It fit into the message of what they was trying to be, family and staying together. And then we'll get later into that scene with the wild little feral boy and how he is part of the family as well.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And that's the other thing I really enjoyed about the movie, just the fact that it really did feel like a family. They actually did do a good job of establishing the kids and all that relationship pretty early on and stuff. So by the time, bad things happened to them, you actually cared, And I'll say this right now, not to get too I'll just say it, right? It was refreshing to see a modern movie where the dad wasn't a fucking idiot. We see a lot of that lately, where it's like the kids and the mom are the smart one, the dad's a dummy, and so it's like, no, the dad, he's the head of the household. We all follow his lead. He knows what he's doing. We respect him. He is our father. Now, that was good. Movies used to be like that, so it was actually kind of refreshing to see that. But obviously, he's not just overbearing. Like, he like lays down the law when he needs to, but he wants to hear Neytiri's counsel, especially because she's very smart herself. And even with the kids, like, he'll ask the older ones, hey, what do you think we should do here? That was very well done. And again, it's just funny how Hollywood movies used to do that stuff. They don't do that anymore. And I'll get more to this a little bit later. That's the other thing I appreciate about this movie, that it felt refreshing because it reminded me of how movies used to be just not too long ago, But yeah, that aspect really worked for me. Dana, I saw you raising your hand, so you could jump in when you're ready.
Yeah, I just really wanted to say that I like the balance of the household, where it wasn't I'm making decisions for the family and that's it, screw you. Remember when they was in the tent and he was explaining why they had to leave? You saw her input. You saw that he cared about what she had to say. And I really like that balance, that cohesiveness of we are a unit. And I really believe if she laid down the law and said no, they wouldn't have left. So I liked how they did that I never
Yeah,
heard.
remember the whole thing was like Sully stick together, and it means more than just physically being together. It's like we got to come do this as a family. I really enjoyed that, and it felt credible too. It's like, okay, like this was going on, let's discuss it. Like basically, whenever he tells the family like we need to do this, he'll explain why they need to do it. It's not just we're doing this and that's it. He'll explain it to them. You know.
That's kind of why I feel like they missed the mark with Neytiri. Like they should have done more with her because they did so much character development with the kids, and I get that they probably did character development in the first movie with them, but they have this whole new dynamic now with them being married with kids that they could have explored a bit more about, like her motherly side, not just her getting angry whenever like the kids get in trouble or like the kids are in danger, like but just more of the mother side of it. And we don't really get that until the end when the brother's gone and she gets really pissed. And that's pretty much it.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
Yeah.
to be honest, I think the one thing about it is her battle was the fact that she leaving her tribe and sort of, because really that was her biggest contention with Jake on this situation. It's like, no, they're not just coming after everybody. They're coming after us. And we're putting, if we really want to save our tribe and as well as, get away from this, we need to go and get the hell out of here. So they're not coming after these people all the time. So I mean, I guess the and the biggest lesson for him was just like, maybe I need to not run anymore. Maybe I need to come right back at them, like really come at them.
Yeah, because you're right. That's what he was, I guess, doing for a lot of the movie, just running away. But then at the end, it's like, okay, I got to actually, face this stuff. Which is cool. Let's talk about the Water Tribe. They were very interesting. Like you can even see they like physically look different.
Yeah, they look like sea otters.
But yeah, they kind of did. Yeah, they have those big flat tails. Their hands and feet are kind of a little bit more webbed. They're like lighter skinned and stuff. I noticed their eyes are a little bit more out, like kind of like
yeah,
fish.
And they close in the opposite direction. They don't close downward. They actually close downward, and then the eyes close in the center.
Yeah, and obviously this is because both of these things are inspired by like Southeast Asian type of things. But like the first thing I thought, typical gamer thing, right? I guess I was like, man, this reminds me of Final Fantasy X. But they're getting the influences from the same place, so that was really cool. And I liked, even though yes, it was self-indulgent, we actually did feel like we lived in that tribe. We got to know their customs and all that. And obviously, just like with Jake, to them, family and all that is very important, which also kind of caused some conflict as well. But yeah, I really enjoyed the Water Tribe, and obviously it was James Cameron indulging in his waterness.
He loves himself some water, man.
I mean, think about it. This guy did Titanic, and then he spent 10 years just into Titanic. Like that's all he did. Like I'm just gonna hang out down there now.
Just going into the Titanic, inventing, funding new technology to essentially new subs and stuff to go and explore the ocean.
Yeah, this is how obsessed this guy is. The Abyss, right? That was the first water movie he did. Those submersibles, which are actually real now, they were not real back then. They made them up for the movie. And then people saw that. They're like, oh shit, we should do something like that. These submersible little subs and stuff. But yeah,
so the technology didn't even exist until he made it.
Well, I mean, not that small. Not that small.
Yeah, because we had submersibles, but they were like a lot bigger. But in the movie, they were small and they had like they were like see through and everything. Like that didn't exist. But it's funny because we watch the movie now, you're like, oh yeah, they're one of those things because they're all they're all over the place. But yeah, Danny, what'd you think of the the Water Tribe?
The water, like I said before, the biology, like the way they looked and everything was really cool. I think that stood out to me the most, aside from towards the end when they're about to go to war and everyone's getting mad because the whale was killed, and they start doing that haka thing, and they start sticking their tongues out, and I was like, man, like they really like the attention to detail with like their cultural like habits and stuff like that. Like that's what really got me into it. Of course, and then touching on the different animals, the wildlife in the water, how they connect with each other, how they work with each other and everything, and how the whales are such an important part of their culture as well, and they talk to you. Like I was so like into the whole thing.
Yeah, that was dope. Dana, what'd you think of the Water Tribe?
I mean it. Of the Water Tribe. I thought that, again, with the cultural aspect, how they looked was very interesting. I loved how they just brought out, again, with the family theme was carried on, and I liked how they stuck together. They tried to cut cool, but you kind of see how they were, but you can see the similarities with their family, right along with Jake's. Liked how they brought that together. Again, the look and the setup, the design, the fact that they kind of slept, that was different and unique. They didn't like go inland and have their little homes and huts. They was literally right on top of the water where they slept. So overall, I just really liked how they explored this culture. I didn't know right away that they was Southeast Asian at first. I thought it was like, I knew that it was based on something. When that girl came out the
It's a
water,
mix
she
of things. It's not just that. It's a mix
I
of
wasn't
things.
sure.
But yeah.
But overall, I thought it was really well done, and I kind of liked their culture a little bit better than I did the other Navi tribe, the
Yeah,
forest
a little
people.
bit more interesting. I agree with that. I think it's because since the Navi were kind of based on like Native Americans, and we just know more about them as
Nah,
Americans,
it was
they feel a
more.
little,
It was a little bit more. It was a little bit more Amazonian, sort of like that culture, like jungle, like South American sort of deal on
yeah.
that.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I always saw them as like jungle, like Native Americans and stuff. So I guess it's kind of the same thing, but we know more about them than we do like Samoans and stuff. So that's why I think that the Water Tribe seemed just more interesting to us because
Mhm.
we're not exposed to that, you know. But yeah, like yeah, you're right. Like more Aztec stuff with the regular Navi. But yeah, man, what'd you think of the Water Tribe?
I thought they were cool. I thought that was again. It was like it was like nice seeing the sort of differences between them. I found it a little odd that they didn't know that much about them. I mean, with their big old war that they were having, it was just centralized on that side of Pandora. I just thought that my only thing about that is it's like so I guess the planet's that big. They could just somehow separate. How come there wasn't? Were they whaling at that point, or were they not? Like at that point it's a little odd. Like I just like Mike, like at least they did know who they were, and they did have this sort of the same culture, but it was just a little bit weird. And then they did know who Jake was, but
Yeah,
they
yeah, word
never
got
had
around. Yeah.
they never fought any of that stuff. I thought was a little bit odd.
Yeah, the way because I know what you're talking about, but the way I kind of interpret it as like basically the jungle Navi's wars, like they got word of it in the Water Tribes, but they're like, yeah, we're not gonna mess with that shit. We're gonna leave them be, you know. But you're right about that. When the humans originally came, did they not go to the Water Tribes? They know about them, obviously. And remember in the first movie, they even teach about the Navi in schools. You know, did they teach about the Water Tribes? Like how much interaction was there? And did the humans whale hunt the first time around? Yeah, that would have been because like in this movie obviously they whale hunt for the brain juice and stuff. By the way, I should say that real quick. When we got to see the whales, the first thing I thought, I was like, hey, how do you connect to that thing? Because with every animal there, you see the thing where they like there's like a USB port you connect and stuff. Like how do you connect to those things? And then you find out, oh, the port's inside the mouth, so that was kind of interesting. But yeah, the Water Tribe basically, like, yeah, again, I definitely want to see this movie again for them and other reasons, which I'll discuss later. But going back a little bit to more characters, yeah, we got to discuss. Go ahead, Dana.
Really wanted to say, kind of quickly piggybacking off of Emilio, was I felt that the fact that they really didn't know or didn't explore the fact that there was a whole war going on the other side was so that they can remember during that scene when it was all together and they gave that speech and it was like, we didn't know what was going on over there, but now it's at our front door. So now we have to stick together to fight it. I think it was kind of the overall theme message, and that's why they didn't really play on the fact that, hey, there was that war that you had going for, and that's kind of what I interpreted as.
Okay, cool.
I kind of feel like, and this is just a prediction of like future installments, is like that's probably what Jake is going to be doing, is going from like village to village to
Yeah.
culture, bringing them all together for like one big final war with the what do you call them,
with the
the
sky
humans,
people,
with the sky people, yeah.
Yeah, not to put a pin on that, because that's actually the thing I want to end kind of the podcast
Okay.
with, like predictions, because
Yeah.
I already got some of my own, bro. Like, okay, listen, I'm just saying, we got the jungle, we got the water, desert, maybe, you know what I'm saying? But then, you know what, I'll save it for the end. Yeah, so anyway, just a little bit back for more with characters. We got to talk about Stephen Lang, right? And specifically little Tarzan.
The jungle boy.
Jungle Boy. I'll say this about him, right? I like the character, but I'm still not sure how I feel about his kind of like wishy-washiness.
double-sidedness.
Like he kind of went with both sides in a way, but he also weirdly wasn't betraying anyone. So that was kind of interesting. So like I'm kind of conflicted about this character, because at the same time I felt he served a good role and he was portrayed well, but at the same time I also feel he was underutilized. I know those are two different things, but I don't know, there's something that's not, I feel could have went further with him.
Which one, the kid or
the human
Porridge?
kid the human kid that always used to hang out with him, you know, like little Tarzan, as I call him. So yeah, what'd you think, Danny, about him specifically, like how he kind of had allegiance to the Na'vi and to the humans in a way?
Yeah, I think in my own way, like my way of thinking was just that maybe he was playing both sides because he was hoping that his dad would kind of like side with like the Na'vi after he gets a taste of what it's like to be one. But they didn't play that at all. So they missed an opportunity to develop a little bit as to why he was really trying to help Quaritch out. So yeah, they didn't do that so well. But I do like the idea of humans adopting that culture, so him specifically, and kind of like, and really making it work too. Like he caught up with everybody else, just like he was a regular Na'vi guy.
Yeah, Spider, that was his name.
Yeah.
Manny, what'd you think of Spider?
Yeah, I thought he was okay. I sort of liked that he was a little bit gray, where he didn't sort of shoot, sort of like, just, they didn't have the turning point where he's like, yeah, I hate you guys, I'm going in there. And then, like, or do the opposite, then realize he did wrong and then go back. He sort of remained sort of even keel, where it's like, obviously he's like, he has that sort of curiosity, he wants to know his father because he really didn't get to know him.
Yeah.
But I also think that at the end, also with the end part of it where he sort of saves him, even though he doesn't want to, he still feels that weird connection to him, even though he wasn't there. But I think I don't know. I think he definitely served a purpose to sort of help around with the stuff. But yeah, it's a little weird with him too, because it's like, again, he is gray, where he's just like, all right, he just sort of reacts to everything.
Yeah, pretty much. Dana, what'd you think of Spider?
I was confused about his connection at first until they brought in the Stephen Lang character and explained that, oh, that's his son. Because I really don't remember him in the first movie. It was kind of weird how they put the ages, is weird how they matched up.
They added the. Oh, sorry. No, I was going to say that they had that little thing in the beginning where that sort of explained where he was, and then they sort of like sort of alluded to maybe Stephen Lang being his father.
Yeah, no, they did that well, but I didn't understand his purpose. Maybe it was like to connect. I feel that he's the connection between the human and the Na'vi, kind of forming some kind of, in the later movies, I know we'll talk about predictions later, forming some kind of understanding. He kind of played the Jake Sully role in the kid form, you can say. The flip-flopness, I didn't mind, because he still wanted that connection with his father, even though technically his father is dead. And they had that scene where he's explaining, where he's watching the Stephen Lang character, who's now Na'vi, watch his death and realizing that, oh, it was Natiri who killed him. And so I thought that's why he kind of was pushed Natiri a little bit aside and was going to go with his father, especially when he was watching in the later, when they get to the Titanic scene of like her just savagely killing everyone. He had like this look of like, I'm literally scared. What is going on? I didn't see this before. I felt that, he was someone who wanted that connection, and I appreciated that. My issue is more of the Stephen Lang character. Now that he's not, and he kept saying, "I'm your father." Basically, he just has his memories. So that connection was still kind of weird. I don't know whether or not Stephen Lang's character will change, because if you just look at it, he's kind of just like a computer in a suit with just stored memories. Can those memories be changed to recognize something else within the Na'vi, or is he always going to be programmed to, I have to kill the Na'vi and Jake Sully and these people are savages? So I don't really understand how much further they're going to go with that. And again, when he saved his father, I understood why he did it, but it just kind of felt like, hey, this is for a sequel, so we're going to keep him alive. So it was kind of a mixed bag for me overall.
Yeah. I got to jump in on the Stephen Lang thing, because you can't think of it like he's a robot. It's just his the memories of the human were transplanted into the Na'vi. That is now a new being that has these old memories that will now form new memories, and obviously his experiences will change him potentially, and that's what's going on. So it's not like he's programmed. It's just, hey, he just has the memories of this guy. So obviously in this movie,
he is essentially that guy in Na'vi form. That's that's the way I just saw it. Where it's just like,
oh yeah, absolutely.
And that this, I think, him having that sort of moment with the training stuff, and the kid sort of teaching him about that culture is maybe somewhat of a deciding factor of what might happen in the future. Because that was the whole problem with him in the original film. He was unwilling to go down that road and try to find out as much about them and try to figure out a way to sort of, none of them were looking for a way to essentially to try to work together and try to do something, right? They were always, it was always like, we're desperate. We need to get this unobtainium. We need to get this other junk,
Yeah, right about that. And I mean, again, that's something we could probably discuss for like later on, but yeah, I think it sets him up to be a pretty interesting character, because like even in this movie, he was just like, oh, I'm still a human. I just so happen to be in this big body. But then when he actually like does things like he tames that creature, you can see he's like, oh, this is kind of cool,
Mm-hmm.
And then the most interesting part when it comes to Stephen Lang is the part where Neytiri never liked Spider to begin with. She never liked him.
Mm-hmm.
So she never really did. Yeah. So like I was pretty sure she would have killed him instantly. Like she would have. So it was interesting because he's like, oh, I don't care about me. Go ahead and kill him. And then he's like, stop. Like, okay, that to me right there, that's a little bit of a character change right there.
Mm-hmm.
That he actually does care about this kid, who even he admits is technically not his son, technically not anyone to him, but he's obviously lying to himself. He feels something for the kid.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Materia would have killed him, because just the way she did it, where she did the same thing that they did earlier, where it's like, I kill you, and they put like the scar on his chest or something like that.
Maybe, yeah.
I don't think
it seemed to me like it was a shot across the bow or something.
I think I think he understood it, and that's why he didn't. He wasn't like, I think she was, because he knew their culture and the way they work. She wasn't going to outright kill him. I think she knew they have that thing where, in other words, they make a scar on your chest and they consider you dead, right?
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. I didn't see it like that. Yeah, you're right.
It was the same thing that the guy, the new leader of the Na'vi, at least the Forest Na'vi, did to Jake when they were transitioning out of leaders.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. And the kid obviously would understand that. Stephen Lang wouldn't, because again, he's not really trying to learn about their culture, But when Spider saved them at the end, I also wasn't surprised by that. I kind of, it is obviously setting up for the sequel, but I think it kind of worked, because again, he has that, like you said, that gray nature about him. And like I said, what I appreciate is that it didn't feel forced. That even though it was kind of weird, it didn't feel forced, because he wasn't trying to betray anybody. He was trying to see can we meet in the middle? Obviously, you couldn't,
Mhm.
but he was trying, and he worked in that respect for sure.
To be honest, like at least anybody watching Spider saving Quaritch, like you're gonna get an emotional response, and I think that's the whole point. Is that you're probably gonna hate this kid for saving him, or you're probably gonna sympathize with him, and be like, oh, he really wants his dad, or something like that.
Yeah, for sure. We should probably talk about the whales, because that was a big part of the movie as well. It kind of came kind of late-ish in the movie, and stuff. I liked how those whales look. They look like a mix between whales and sea turtles. The way their textures were and stuff. And as you said, the whales could talk. I found that a little weird, but at the same time, you could consider the planet of Pandora as to be like a life form. So it kind of makes sense that even whales could like talk, to like the Navi or whatever. But yeah, and then there was like the main whale. What was it? I forgot the whale's name, but he was like the one missing his fin and stuff. The younger kid, he became friends with him. People were like, oh, that motherfucker's a killer. You better not go over there. But then you find out about what would really happen and stuff. That was kind of cool. And then because at first I was like, what the fuck are we doing with all this whale shit? But then at the end, it actually made sense. Like if he didn't befriend that whale, they wouldn't have been able to counterattack later on, because it was that whale that saved all of them at the end, and that was pretty crazy, the way that thing was just thrashing around, destroying everything. That was just like spectacular. So I'm glad that particular thing paid off, because we spent a long time with that whale, and I'm like, yo, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
But then it all paid off in the end, so it made everything kind of worth it.
One thing I thought was interesting about that whale is that they introduced that one before they introduced the idea of the other ones.
That's right. Yeah.
Where it's like, these things somehow understand people, understand Navi or sign language, underwater sign language, which, by the way, they actually did go to a sign language specialist to create that whole sign language.
Oh, nice.
Navi in sign language.
Yep.
That's cool.
Yep. So there was this one. It was a specialist in sign language who created that version of the Navi language underwater.
Yeah, and listen, if we could buy that King Kong knows sign language, we could buy a whale does it too, right?
I mean, yeah,
and they even explain it's like these things are kind of technically smarter than us. Like they have a lot more like synapses and shit. So that was cool. Yeah, the whales were fun, especially that the main whale, like he kind of had his own little redemption arc, But that was also interesting too, how like the whales rejected killing, like because they were killers apparently in the past. But then they rejected those ways. Like even the humans, like, hey, have these whales ever killed anyone? Like, no. Like, okay, makes them easier to hunt. It's all fucked up. But then obviously, we find out the reason they're killing the whales is because they got to get like the honey from their brains, because it's like it makes people immortal apparently.
Apparently it's worth more than unobtainium, and it makes you it literally stops aging instantly. I literally laughed at that part. Like I was like I just was like I couldn't, I just laughed in the theater, because it was just like, oh come on. No. So like the previous unobtainium was the one that would literally save all of energy or whatever. It only did everything. But apparently this one's even better, because it literally stops you from aging instantly. They also introduced a weird slight thing, and I don't know if this was in the original film, but they said that the Earth is in trouble or something.
Yeah, that was a problem with the first one too.
It was always a thing.
It was a brief like passing comment that they made in the movie.
Yeah, they made it in this one too.
Yeah. If you saw the extended edition, like you actually see scenes of Jake on Earth, and Earth is fucked. It looks like a worse.
It looks like Blade Runner.
Yeah, it looks like Blade Runner is all fucked up. So yeah, that was the reason they went to Pandora, because Earth was fucked up, so they needed more resources and all that. But I don't know. To me, it just seemed silly. Like they could have just said this prolongs human life. Okay, but stops aging. Come on now.
It literally stops aging.
I kind of like I kind of liked it, and it's only because like it kind of just shows the priorities of humans. Like all they care about is vanity, like, and fucking money, like with unobtainium and energy stuff. So they'd rather collect all this stuff than fix their planet. They'd rather take over another planet and settle there than fix their planet and then just care about not aging and whatever else.
That's a good point. Yeah, it just shows like human vanity to the extreme, because it's like, hold on, you've developed like travel between stars. You should have the technology to fix the planet, your own planet, but no.
Yeah.
Like no, we're not gonna fix nothing. We're just gonna go over there instead, take their shit. 'Cause they even said like we want to make Pandora a second Earth, but it's like you can't even breathe the air there, man. What are you gonna do?
Terraform the whole deal
and then kill everything? It's like kind of silly. Dana, what do you think of the whales? Uh-oh.
She turned into Gary Swaby for some reason.
Into Gary Swaby.
I thought this was an entire throwaway storyline. Again, there were aspects that didn't really make any sense, and they introduced a whale was just for that one big Free Willy boat scene, which is okay. But I thought that, remember when they made the connection to the original, like the original, I guess it would be whale-ish, like when it was doing the sign language and it was explaining, oh, she was pregnant, she had a baby, and they're explaining like different whales and what's going on with them. I thought they were more of the ones who would land on top of that the ship and do an attack, because they technically killed like the big mother. So that would have made more sense to me than having the missing Finn guy use his character.
I think it's because it's part of their culture. Like they just can't violate their culture.
Piggyback. Yeah, but it just, to me, overall, it would have been like, you know what, you can't, and you're coming with us with a harpoon, so then we're gonna just forget all that right now, and you see that you kidnapped the kids, we're gonna start attacking.
But remember, they've been whaling for like a year, so they haven't attacked during all that time. They're probably not going to do it now. That's why the only whale that could attack was the one that was missing a fin, because he had already been attacking humans anyway.
Yeah, nothing else to lose.
Yeah.
Well, I guess so. Then there goes that theory. But overall, it was okay. Then the sign language scene, when he started literally speaking in their subtitles, the audience where I was at, they completely could not stop laughing. Like, it was just a really laughable moment where it kind of took you out of the scene. So I didn't really like
that was borderline silly. Yeah, I agree with you on that. That was borderline silly.
Sorry, which scene was it?
The scene where the whales talk. Like, this is gonna sound stupid. I would have preferred if the way the whale talked was kind of like more retarded, for the lack of a better term. Like, me see you, me happy, like the whales are speaking perfect like language and stuff. Like, to me it would have been more credible if the whale spoke more simply, like, me am happy, how baby, you know what I'm saying? Like, I would have preferred that, But that's just me.
Yeah, well, again, set that up, and it was all right. I mean, they gave the whale more of a storyline and a story arc than some of the other characters, which was kind of weird. But I also like the fact that you guys brought in the fact that they was using for that, I guess, their liquidy parts for the whale that they killed just in order to stop human aging. That was weird, but maybe it kind of reminded me of, James Cameron is huge conservative, but he likes saving it. So I felt that it was kind of him saying something about the beauty industry. You know how they will kill certain animals in order to in beauty makeups and just an animal just for a little piece of wood and using some type of, that's what kind of went to. It was all right with the whale. Like, he served that big moment for the end when he was being attacked.
Spider even had said when they were taking out the whale honey, oh, that's it? What do you do with the rest of the whale?
Yeah, which is like, again, that's what like ivory poachers do. It's like they take the ivory and they leave the rest of the fucking elephant just there, It's like, yeah, so yeah, it was definitely a commentary on that. But yeah, since you touched on it, Dana, we could just jump into it. The last hour of the movie was just a giant action sequence, basically, and like the whole movie looked like really good. But at that point, it's like, holy shit. Like Manny and I were talking about this on Throwdown last night. It's like they were doing stuff. We're like, how the hell are they doing this shit? It's like
Yeah.
Navi like lifting up humans and stuff. There's robots. There's like fucking water everywhere, fire, and everything looked great. And it didn't matter if it was during the bright daylight or like raining or dark. Everything looked great. But yeah, and Dana, it's funny, I didn't think about it, but you're right, that ending part kind of was very Titanic-ish, wasn't it? With the whole boat flipping over, the fucking drowning and shit. Like, oh yeah, I didn't see that during while I was moving. Like, oh yeah, that is very Titanic-y, isn't it? So yeah, Danny, you can start. What do you think about the final sequence of the movie, last third, basically?
The last hour was great. I mean, I was thinking throughout the entire movie how little there was with the action. Like there was some stuff here and there. So I was thinking to myself, man, if anybody asked me how this movie was, I'm gonna tell them don't expect a lot of action. It's a lot also it's about story and characters, but there's great action scene at the end. So like that hour definitely had me awake, and it had some good action scenes, like some stuff that like I hadn't seen in a while when it comes to like the destruction and explosions and the way everybody's fighting and stuff. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, it was very well choreographed, even if it did, there was one point where it's like, okay, so, like there was so many false start, like ends sometimes. Like I thought it was, oh no, we're still going. Oh wait, no, the villain's not over dead yet. Oh wait, here he comes again. But it was really like spectacular. Like that ending, like the last hour. That's the reason I go to movies, man. Like that's the reason.
The climax.
The craziness. Man, what'd you think of that final hour?
I thought it was good. I thought it was. I feel like a lot of the stuff that they were sort of setting up for the previous parts of the movie, you sort of all come to pass at the end of the movie. My only issue with it is that where did all the sea people go after all of this happened? Like they're like after Whale jumped up onto the deck of the ship. Where did all the sea people go? It's like nobody could come over and help them at any point. It just seemed a little weird.
Yeah, you're right, because they came with him and then they like just backed off.
Yeah, they sort of like did a couple things. They were killing off the guys on the ships and all that stuff. It was them. Then once Whale came in, all of them just disappeared, and it just became about them and the way the Sullys and the guys on the ship.
Yeah, maybe they were scared of the whale.
They all. Yeah, maybe they all just like, all right, the ship's sinking. Let's leave it to those guys.
Yeah, our work is done here.
Our work is done.
Oh man, Dana, what do you think of the last hour, the climax, all the crazy actionness?
Well, I liked it. I thought it was superb. But this is when we had the frame rate issue, where it was that weird gliding
We'll talk
thing.
about that.
And at moments, it took me out of the action because it was so present. But when that wasn't really an issue, it was superb. I liked the look, the cinematography, again with the choreography. Everything just felt like it was well timed, it was well executed, and that's why I said it reminded me again of Titanic. Even with the whole handcuffs scene with the kids, because I believe that was also from Titanic as well. Yeah, so he just got to do another Titanic. We got that sequel that we never asked for. Overall, I thought it was very crisp. Just figure out that frame rate, because that was just for me. But the whole sequence with the drowning, and then you saw the other bodies floating around, getting Titanic, but very well done. And this is when I thought the movie overall on the technical aspect stood out, but this was like the shining moment where I'm like, this is where technology is today. Imagine when the next Avatar movie comes out. I don't know whether it's 2 years or 20 years from now, it's going to look even more superb than this.
Yeah, I mean, I could jump on that right now because I do want to speak about that, the whole technical part of the movie. And this is, again, something I said on Throwdown last night. This movie does, to me, and I'm not saying this in a bad way, this movie doesn't look any better than the original Avatar, because the original Avatar looks so good. Most movies don't look like that, so just like this movie looked as good as the original, which says a lot, but it also looks But here's the thing: I will say it looks better than you imagine because of how bad special effects have gotten in movies recently. Right when the original Avatar came out, right? This is when the MCU was first coming up. Those movies looked really good. Now they look like shit. Look at Shang-Chi. Look at anything from Phase 4, right? Except Spider-Man. Spider-Man looked pretty good. But like Shang-Chi and Doctor Strange, horrible, horrible special effects. And you see this, you're like, oh my God, right? But if you look at this movie and the original one, special effects are still just as good, which goes to show you, how like far ahead of its time the original one was, right? But yeah, but speaking about the technicality stuff, yeah, I do have to criticize Cameron for the skipping between 48 frames a second and 24 frames. It was weird. Like, pick one and stick with it. I don't. By the way, I'll say this: I don't like 48 frames a second, but I would have preferred if that was the only frame rate. It was off. Yeah,
it was done the way it was done, and apparently the Hobbit film was like this too, where
it was
like,
the first one.
Yeah, but it would skip between like 24 frames per second and then 48 for certain shots. So it was happening all over the movie. And then the weird thing is that once you switch back from having the smooth frame rate, then you notice how much is missing from the 24 because it's literally half. So you look like you're like looking at like a weird slideshow almost.
Yeah, and it was weird because you would have like, it wouldn't be like, okay, here's a couple minutes of 24 frames a second. Here's a couple minutes of, no, it was literally like, here's 2 seconds of 24 frames. Here's 3 seconds of, it's like going back and forth, back and forth.
It was just
like,
all over the place, and it really should have just been one.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. He wants to show how clear everything looks and all that other stuff. But if we're going to be going down the line of having this stuff be, in a higher frame rate, they keep the whole damn movie in the same frame rate. Stop with this silliness.
Exactly. Do you know if there's a reason why that he did that?
It's just for visual clarity. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, apparently, like if you see the movie in a regular theater, it's just going to be 24 frames a second. But this is just for the 3D IMAX. He claims that it just runs like better or whatever. But it was just weird, man. It was weird to me,
Yeah, and then it just had like moments that just felt like motion flow, where it was like
it
just looked like some sequences were sped up, oddly.
Yeah, and then some scenes looked like a video game, like a really well done video game. But it's like,
yeah, like especially some of those far shots, like it's just like, I don't know. Yeah, I would have just preferred it if it was just the full on 24 and just that's it.
Yeah, I definitely want to see it again at 24 frames because that 48 frames a second bugged the fuck out of me.
I heard when they first did it on The Hobbit. Apparently,
people didn't like. There's a reason they didn't do it for the other two movies. There's a reason for that.
The Hobbit literally because it was actually making people feel sick.
Yeah,
just because of the weird changes in frame rates within the film.
I remember when we saw the movie. When we saw the movie, we thought maybe the projector was fucked up.
I thought because it looked like it was lagging. It looked like the movie was literally lagging. Like you're watching this thing, like okay, it's moving. Why does this look like a slideshow at 1 minute?
It's crazy. Dana, what do you think about tell us just more about the crazy frame rates.
No, it felt like it was weird. It felt like the screen couldn't catch up to the movie.
Yeah.
So it just kind of took me out of the whole, some of the sequences where it was like, it felt like, again, really, really smooth. And then all of a sudden it was that weird lagginess to it. And I thought that if they would have just picked one frame rate and I could have been even more within the movie and to kind of like it. But it was weird. It was during the close-up scenes where it ran slower. But when they got to like the more wider scope scenes, that's when it ran much quickly. And so when you started switching in between, it felt like it was weird. It just kind of felt like I was running into someone. It's like it suddenly just stopped. Okay. So I didn't like that at all. So I hope for the other ones they pick something.
We'll see about that because James Cameron, he's probably going to stick with what he's going to stick to, unfortunately. But anyway, we're getting kind of close to the wrap up here. So yeah, let us do some predictions now, man. Where do you predict Avatar 3 will take us? Danny, you could go first.
I think just more culture. I think we're gonna move on to something else. Aside from water and the forest. I don't know, like freaking Breath of the Wild or Zelda
Hey,
type things. Like you go to the lava level, the water level, the freaking desert level. So maybe like some other biome in some sort of way, some other culture to try to learn from them, and still character development between Sully and Natiri, especially Natiri, since I think she has more of a reason to hate humans. So I feel like they're going to focus
yeah.
on her a lot more, especially now that Quaritch is still alive. And more dynamics with Quaritch and Spider.
Yeah, for sure. So again, this is kind of wishful thinking because obviously I don't know where they're gonna go with this, but because at first I was like, okay, maybe they'll have desert Navi, but it's like, how many different biomes can you have on this moon? That's what it is. It's a moon, you know. So like
Mhm.
maybe they can have like underground Navi that no one's discovered yet. You know, kind of like the underground people from Planet of the Apes or something. You know, the old the original ones. But that would be interesting. Like
The
underground Navi.
Morlocks.
Yeah, the Morlocks, yeah. You know, like imagine that, like some like underground Navi. They have their own kind of biome going on. That would be it. But then obviously the humans come in. What unobtainium are they going to find from the underground people? You know, but you're right. I think we're going to see more, yeah, more character development, specifically with Quaritch and Neytiri. That'll be interesting. And then will she try to, you know, like kill Spider because he did save Quaritch? You know,
Mm.
and then some more stuff. I think because there's going to be 5 movies over there. I'm pretty sure Jake Sully's going to die in one of these fucking movies eventually. You know, and
I
then
mean, yeah,
at the,
he might, he might be paving the way for, Jake Jr. You
yeah,
know,
and I think he's going to become more responsible next time around. Like I'm pretty sure he'll still be like a hothead in some points, but he'll try to have a little bit more responsibility. But then again, this is just what I want to see, like him trying to be more responsible, then giving into his nature of just being wild and shit.
I
You
I
know?
know I know this is a bit weird, but I kind of feel like through the span of all 5 movies and even more, because James Cameron has talked about the possibility of 6 and 7, um, crossbreeding. They really touched a lot on that. With like there was like this strange chemistry between Spider and Cutie.
Yeah, I
Like
noticed that.
yeah, so it was just like I think they kind of like each other, but so is there something going on with that, or maybe it is just a sibling thing? I don't really know. But then there's also the fact that Sully's children, they have 5 fingers, so they are like they're mixed race. So I'm wondering if they're gonna touch on that some more and like have like more of a human Navi like melting pot, so to speak.
Yeah. I wonder how they'll make that work because I don't think you can have like a straight up human with a Navi like you'll see in the Avatar or whatever. But yeah, that I do want to see them touch on that as well because they could go forward. By the way, I learned this today. Apparently, James Cameron wrote that, like, you know, he wrote the third movie that if this one bombed, that third one would be the end of it. But it looks like this movie's successful, so we're gonna get more of them. But he did write a kind of ending just on the off chance, which is kind of good. But
Smart.
yeah,
Yeah.
smart indeed. Yeah, Manny, what do you think? What do you predict or want to see in the next movie or future movies?
I don't know. They're probably going to go to the desert town, and they're going to find another type of unobtainium. They're going to have to learn the ways of the desert,
Yes.
the ways of the earth, and then homeboy's going to come over again, try to get them, and they're going to beat him, and they're going to
Or
regroup.
he'll join them.
Or he could join them. I mean, it just depends because he did manage to convince him to not kill off all of the to kill those tribes.
Yeah.
The kid, Spider. So we'll see. I'm interested to see where it goes. But I mean, I'm not expecting this tour like with this. So I'm not expecting a tour de force storyline. I'm just thinking like it's going to be more of the sort of similar where it's like it's just enough story to get you along, get you into a cool looking war at one point, and let's just see what we're going to explore this time around.
Good stuff. Right, Dana, what do you predict for the next movie, or what do you want to see in the next movie and future movies?
All right. So the thing is, I think that it was really interesting with the whole spider Kiri element, until I kind of realized Sigourney Weaver is like 73 and the kid is like 17. So I really don't want that kind of think of it. I'm fine with them just being best friends. Um, Also, I think that, this is a Disney movie and there were Disney aspects in this movie. And with that said, somebody has to die in terms of the parents. So I don't know if it's this movie or if it's 3. I mean, what are we on? 2? If it's 3 or 6, one of the parents, or even both of them, have to at some point. We already know that Zoe Saldana kind of complained about being in franchises and she's not able to do the movies that she wants to do. I'm cool with her dying, and therefore Jake has to really figure out parenthood on his own and figure out really the Avatar and the Na'vi on his own. That's great and wonderful. Also, another thing that was interesting was that at the very end, that whole monologue scene, Jake said that, we're not going to run anymore. We're going to stay and fight. So I really see him kind of staying with the water people. And I'm interested of knowing how the other kind of cultures and other people come into made it with, oh, we're gonna leave, but after he connected to the tree of life and saw his dead son again, he was really like, no, we're gonna stay and we're gonna fight. So I wonder if it's gonna be situations where they just go out and be like, hey, this is a situation that we have, can you come over to us and we formulate something together? I don't really see them running to go live with the cloud people. Wasn't it something with like the mountains and the clouds? That was one of the plans.
No, that's where the forest Na'vi moved.
Yeah, that's where the forest Na'vi moved. Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, okay. Well, there's just other different aspects of this planet. So we know that we'll see that again, but I don't see it as we need shelter. I see it as a call to battle. We need to fight this, and we can't do it with that speech previously of the guy saying, now they come to us, so we have to fight as well. They have our kids. So that is what I see. When we'll actually get a final ending, I have no idea. I don't know what's going on. I'm cool with this being the final end. But even if it's 3, then something else has to happen. We need more group formation. Kiri also knowing which the powers that he's going to harness them more and kind of not feel powers and secure within herself. Or maybe connect with someone else on a different tribe. But I really want her to grow into get in when it was in the water and those things was coming after them, and also rescuing her parents who did live. He has to step up, more. Maybe this is when the parent dies, he becomes more of a leader. So we'll see what's going on with that.
Yeah, they could definitely go a lot of different places, but yeah, apparently the next movie's coming out next year. We'll see about that, because I know they've been filming a bunch of these back to back. So we'll see about that, but I'm looking forward to it.
Didn't they say that third was already like done wrapping because they were filming at the same time as 2?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
They're like 2 is almost done. 2, like 2 is
3.
Like, well, no, like isn't like 2 done or something like that? Like
2, we saw 2 already.
No, I mean like the next one. I think isn't the next one already supposedly like it's in post production and they're filming the other one, the last one, right?
I believe so. I know for one of them, I forgot what it was. Like he has like a 9-hour cut of it, and he's like, I want to finish all the special effects for it first, then I'll show it to you guys. Like, yo, cut it first, then do the special effects. James Cameron is crazy, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Any last thoughts you guys want to share about this movie before we wrap up?
Don't sleep on it. I think even if you didn't enjoy the first movie, give this one a chance, because I very much enjoyed it and I wasn't a fan of the first one. So I would definitely say use the bathroom before the movie starts and watch it for sure.
Yeah, don't drink during the movie.
Yeah.
I pretty much agree with that. I mean, I even though I did like the first one, I will say this though. This is the first James Cameron sequel that's not an instant classic,
Yeah.
right? Like like Aliens, fucking you already know. Terminator 2 is the greatest movie of all time. This one, it was good. It was good. You know, like Manny said, was it mind blowing? Was it bad? It was good. It was more of a spectacle, which is what people really ultimately want. Especially nowadays. Yeah, Manny, any last thoughts on the movie?
No, I mean, it's a decent film. I enjoyed going to see it. It messes with your head when you go in at 2 o'clock and then you come out and the sun is down and it's 5 p.m. or six,
Yeah.
close to 6 after all those trailers that come
Yeah,
up for it.
especially in the winter when there's no sun
Because
anymore.
there's no sun involved. Yeah. So, I mean, I would say the best thing well, then again, like if you're listening to this, you're already seen the film. But,
Yeah.
I would say the best thing to do, you catch yourself a matinee like at 10 a.m. in the morning. So at least you have some daylight after.
Yeah, you're right about that. Yeah, because the movie came out during the winter. So, yeah, the less sunlight.
Mhm.
And Dana, any last thoughts?
It was a decent movie. I think talking more about it with other people, I hate it so much.
Same.
It was decent, but again, my problem with these movies is that aside from memorable, is with like, oh yeah, that was really great. What's going on with that Barbie movie? So really have that lasting effect with me overall. So I hope that for when we get the sequels, there's a little bit something more that I can kind of gravitate to and overall make it something that as a whole we kind of can remember and it stays with us aside from technology. Work on that story. That's all I want.
Yeah, I guess I got to come back around because I do want to touch on that real quick. That's what I find interesting about Avatar, the first one specifically, but this one may be the same deal. Think about it. Avatar is the highest grossing movie of all time, right? Yet it didn't have a cultural impact at all. People don't. There's really nothing to quote from it, which is like it's not like Batman or something where you could quote shit. People are still going like it's like people just want to watch the world burn. Like there's no things like that, which is so it's so weird. It's like you have the highest grossing movie all time, yet it leaves no cultural impact. I don't know what that says about the movie itself, but it's interesting to think about. You know. Again, like even when MC was like to your left, so many little secrets. Go ahead, Dana. Whoa, the lag tonight, boy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
Right.
no, I was saying that I see you.
Okay, yeah, you see me. Yeah, there you go. There you
I
go.
see you.
Yeah, I see all of you.
I think the movie did make an impact. I'm sorry, like the movie did make an
cultural impact, like memes and shit.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like, there's no like quotables or anything. Like it obviously had a huge impact. At that time, 3D movies were kind of a thing, but not really. Then everybody was doing fucking. 3D.
It was my first 3D movie.
Yeah, so it was mine too. Like, yeah, obviously, like it had a impact on the technological end, and in Hollywood and all that, obviously for sure. But just like in terms of memes, there's no memorable memes from the movie, which is odd because you get those from big movies like this. All right, good stuff, man. So that's it for the Avatar Way of Water podcast. I hope you guys enjoy this. A lot of fun for me as well. Do we have anything to plug around here? Dana, we'll start with you. What do you want to plug from the Koalition? What you guys got going on?
Just to say that we do have interviews with the cast of Avatar 2 coming up and the VFX people. So that's coming up this week.
Good stuff. Danny, you got anything you want to plug?
Yeah, I got a podcast of my own. Check it out at gamerguardians.net. It's a gaming news industry podcast. We talk about games and stuff. We also play games as well. Like we just did our 100th episode. And nice. We did we played Jeopardy. So I made a Jeopardy game for the panel to play. So it was a lot of fun, and just check it out.
Good stuff. Man, you have anything to plug?
Actually, yes, I do. So, those of you who listen to Throwdown or watch Throwdown, today was our our premiere for the first part of Throwdown Draws, which I drew characters from Cyberpunk Edge Runners. So those will be going up while we're off taking our little bit of vacation, and then it's going to be today, today, which already happened Monday. Then it's going to be on Wednesday. Then it's going to be on Thursday, which is our usual Throwdown time. And then coming back on the following week after Christmas will be the final episode, Christmas Day.
Yay.
So yeah, but also we also have, for those of you who listened to Throwdown in general, we also have last night's Throwdown Throw Down Your Questions AMA special, which will be premiering tonight. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, I don't have anything to plug. Manny already plugged it. So good stuff. Fun podcast. Once again, I was your host, Tony Polanco, and tonight I was joined by Danny Martinez.
Thank you, guys.
Emilio Lopez.
See you next time.
And Dana Abercrombie.
Thanks again.
All right, guys. We'll see you around later.
Laters.